I didn't realize my marriage was over the day my wife asked how much my gym was worth. At the time, it sounded innocent. She was standing in our kitchen in Scottsdale, Arizona, sipping coffee while I packed my gym bag. "So, if someone wanted to buy the gym, what do you think it's worth?" I laughed. "Why? Planning to retire me?" She smiled. "Just curious." I answered without thinking. "Probably around $1 million if you include the building." She nodded once, never mentioned it again. At least, not to me. 3 weeks later, a man I'd never met walked into my office and offered me $180,000 cash for the entire business. That's when I knew someone had been feeding him information. And there was only one person who knew enough to do it. My wife. 5 years earlier, my life looked completely different. When I met Rachel, I owned nothing except an old pickup truck, a folding desk, and 6 personal training clients. I rented half of a warehouse where I trained people using secondhand equipment I bought from gyms that had gone bankrupt. Rachel loved telling everyone she believed in me before anyone else did. That wasn't exactly true. She believed in me. After the business started making money, back then, I ignored details like that because I loved her. She worked in marketing. I handled coaching. Within 4 years, we had turned that tiny warehouse into one of the highest-rated private fitness studios in Scottsdale. People assumed we were the perfect couple. They saw Instagram photos, vacations, matching gym outfits, date nights. What they didn't see was that somewhere along the way, Rachel stopped celebrating my success. She started measuring it. Whenever a new corporate contract came in, she didn't ask how hard we'd worked. She asked how much it paid. Whenever membership increased, she wanted exact numbers. When we refinanced the building, she suddenly became interested in every legal document. At first, I thought she was finally taking an interest in the business. Looking back, she was studying it. About 6 months before everything collapsed, she became obsessed with paperwork. Not in an obvious way, tiny questions. Who actually owns the trademark? Could someone buy into the company? What happens if one partner leaves? Questions most spouses never ask. Every answer seemed to satisfy her. Then another habit appeared. She stopped leaving her phone anywhere. Bathroom, kitchen, laundry room, always with her. One evening I reached for it because my own battery had died. She grabbed it so fast she nearly knocked over her wine. "I've got work stuff on there." I apologized, but something felt wrong. Rachel had never hidden anything before. Then came the lunches. Every Thursday. Always the same excuse. Meeting a marketing consultant. She started dressing differently too. Not prettier, sharper, like she wanted to impress investors instead of coworkers. One afternoon, one of my trainers accidentally mentioned seeing her downtown. "Oh yeah," he smiled. "I didn't know your wife was getting into commercial real estate." I frowned. "What?" "I saw her having lunch with some guy showing her building plans." I laughed it off. Rachel had never mentioned real estate. That evening, I casually asked, "How was lunch?" She answered immediately, "Fine. Just Emily from work." No hesitation, no pause, a complete lie, and that scared me more than if she'd stumbled over her words. I didn't confront her. Instead, I started paying attention. Little things became impossible to ignore. She'd photographed documents lying on my desk when she thought I wasn't looking. She asked where I kept original contracts. She suddenly wanted copies of insurance policies. One night I woke up around 2 a.m. She wasn't in bed. I found her downstairs sitting at the dining table, laptop open, calculator, legal pad. When she heard my footsteps, she slammed everything shut. "Couldn't sleep." She smiled. I pretended to believe her. The next week, something happened that changed everything. A client canceled at the last minute, giving me an unexpected free afternoon. I decided to surprise Rachel with lunch. Her office receptionist looked confused. "Rachel?" "Yeah." She took the afternoon off. I thanked her and walked back outside. Across the street, I saw her. She wasn't alone. She was laughing with a man I'd never seen before. Late 40s, expensive watch, tailored suit. They weren't flirting. It looked professional. He handed her a folder. She handed him one back. Then they shook hands. Not like coworkers, like people closing a deal. I stayed inside my truck until they left. I never told her I'd seen them. Instead, that night, I quietly called the attorney who had helped me incorporate the gym years earlier. And what he told me made every strange conversation from the last 6 months suddenly make perfect sense. My attorney didn't laugh when I explained everything. He asked one question. Has your wife ever legally owned part of the company? No. Good. Then he asked another. Has she recently been asking about business value, ownership papers, or company accounts? I nodded. Those were almost the exact questions Rachel had been asking. He sighed. I've seen this before. Sometimes, during a divorce, one spouse tries to convince the other that a business is worth much less than it really is. Then they pressure the owner into selling cheaply while someone else waits to buy it. I remembered the man in the suit, the folders, the handshake. None of it felt random anymore. My lawyer gave me simple advice. Don't confront her. Protect yourself. That week, I hired an independent valuation company. The report shocked me. The gym wasn't worth $1 million. It was worth almost $2.4 million. I locked the report away. Rachel never knew. 3 days later, the stranger returned. Gray suit, perfect smile. He introduced himself as Daniel and claimed to represent private investors. After complimenting the gym, he casually asked if I'd sell. Depends on the price. He handed me a folder. Inside was an offer. $180,000. I almost laughed. That wouldn't even replace the equipment. Who told you this place was worth that? He hesitated, then smiled. We have industry information. Interesting answer. I thanked him, kept the paperwork, and called my lawyer. He only said 4 words. Don't reject it yet. Instead, we investigated. The offer came through a holding company. That company belonged to another LLC. That LLC belonged to an investment group. Guess who worked there? The same man Rachel had been meeting. He specialized in buying struggling businesses. My stomach turned. A week later, Rachel sat me down. I don't think this marriage is working. Her voice sounded rehearsed. She talked about growing apart. Then she added something strange. Selling the gym would make the divorce easier. There it was, not the marriage, the business. I asked why. It'll save legal fees. I simply nodded. Inside, every suspicion became certainty. 2 days later, I was served with divorce papers. She wanted half the business, half the property, half the investments, even future profits. Someone had convinced her she'd win. During discovery, my lawyer presented the valuation report, every ownership document, every financial record. Rachel's attorney looked confused. Rachel had never owned a single share, never invested money, never signed business paperwork. Legally, the company had always been mine. Then my lawyer placed Daniel's purchase offer beside emails connecting his investment group to the man Rachel had secretly been meeting. Silence. Rachel looked stunned. Her attorney slowly turned toward her. You told me you barely knew him. She couldn't answer. Outside the courthouse, she finally admitted everything. The investor had promised her a secret deal. If she convinced me to sell cheaply during the divorce, he'd flip the property and quietly pay her a percentage. She believed him. She gambled our marriage on a promise that was never written down. The cruelest part. A week after she filed, he disappeared. Stopped answering her calls, blocked her everywhere. She destroyed everything for someone who never intended to keep his word. The divorce ended 6 months later. She received only what the law required. Nothing from the gym, nothing from the business she'd tried to undervalue. Months later, the investor became part of a fraud investigation. I gave investigators every document I had. Never heard from him again. A year later, the gym had expanded to 3 locations. During a charity event, someone tapped my shoulder. It was Rachel. She looked exhausted. She apologized quietly. No drama, no excuses. She admitted she'd trusted everyone except the one person who had truly loved her. I wished her well, nothing more. Some stories don't need revenge. They just need an ending. As I watched members laughing, trainers coaching classes, and families filling the building we'd created from nothing, I realized the business had never been the most valuable thing I'd protected. It was my peace. The moment I stopped trying to save someone determined to betray me, I finally got it back.